Let's understand routing mechanism that Azure uses. Azure automatically creates a route table for each subnet within an Azure virtual network and adds system default routes to that route table. You can override some of the Azure system routes with custom routes and add additional custom routes to route table. Azure routes outbound traffic from a subnet based on the routes in a subnet's route table. Each system route contains an address prefix, which is something defining the destination IP range, and a next hop type, which is something specifying where the traffic should go. Azure uses different next hop types to guide traffic depending on the destination. Whenever a virtual network is created, Azure automatically creates the default system routes for each subnet within the virtual network. The definition of this system route table is on the screen. In the routing terms, a hop is a waypoint on the overall route. Therefore, next hop is the next waypoint that the traffic is directed to on its journey to its ultimate destination. The next hop types listed in the table represent how Azure routes traffic destined for the address prefix listed. Next hop type as virtual network routes traffic within a virtual network. Azure automatically creates a route for each defined address range within a virtual network. This means that traffic between subnets is routed internally. No external resources or gateways are needed. Azure automatically takes care of the traffic between these ranges. Next hop type as internet routes traffic to the internet for any destination outside the virtual network. Azure has a default route for external traffic using the address prefix, which is 0.0.0/0, which essentially means everything else. Any address not matching your virtual network internal address space is routed to the internet. However, if the traffic is going to an Azure service like a Azure storage, Azure keeps it within the Azure network and will skip the public internet for added security and speed. You can override this default route if you want to route internet bound traffic differently, for example through a firewall. Next hop has none blocks specific traffic and drop it instead of routing it. For certain private or reserved IP ranges like 10.0.0.0/8, 192.168.0.0/16 and 100.64.0.0/10, Azure creates a none route in the default system route table. Traffic destined for these ranges is blocked by default. But if you assign any of these ranges as part of your virtual network address space, Azure updates the route to virtual network, and this allows the traffic within your virtual network. In special case, if you define an address range in your virtual network that overlaps with a reserved range but isn't an exact match, Azure removes the default none route for that range and replaces it with a custom virtual network route to handle traffic within that range specifically. This structure of system route table ensures that traffic within your virtual network, outbound internet traffic, and any reserved IP ranges each have a clear and specific routing path.